Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about the 2024 transportation sales tax and what's included and what's proposed. So, the first question is, what exactly is going to be on the ballot? Well, the ballot will have two questions as it pertains to the sales tax. Question number one will be the sales tax itself, asking for approval of a transportation sales tax not to exceed 10 years or $950 million collected. The second question, immediately following that, will be asking approval to issue $515 million in bonds, up to $515 million, to fund question number one. So, to fund the sales tax that's being approved by the 1 cent sales tax. So, one question we get a lot is this $515 million separate from the sales tax, or is this going to make my property taxes go up? And the answer is no. So the only way that question two, if question one is approved and question two is approved, then it would only get funded through the proceeds that are collected from the 1 cent sales tax. So it will not make property tax. What question two allows county council to do is to issue funds while over the 10 years the funds are being collected, so we can go ahead and start the projects that are identified in the plan. So again, two questions that will be on there. And we'll get to the details of what exactly is included in the $950 million in just a second. But before we get there, there's two things that we need to talk about, two questions we need to answer. One, what is the purpose? Why is County Council pursuing the transportation sales tax? And two, how did we get to where we're talking about today? So, first question, what is the purpose? That can be answered in three words. And those are safety, safety, and safety. So what this chart says here, this is a chart, and the heat map there to the right is from a safety action plan identified by our regional transportation planners, both LATS and LCOG. LATS is Low Country Area Transportation Study, which is for the urbanized areas, and then LCOG is Low Country Council of Governments, which is for the rural areas. And all in all, our region is made up of 4 counties: Beaufort County, Jasper County, Colleton County, and Hampton counties. And so the four counties together, there was a plan done, safety action plan, that identified all the areas that have need as it relates to safety. And so what this graph is showing, first on the left, the bar chart, is the number of accidents over that time period in each area, each county. And then the right shows the heat map of where those accidents are mostly located. And you can see in Beaufort County, we have obviously more in the Hilton Head area and the 278 area, and then the northern Beaufort County, Beaufort Port Royal area, which makes sense in the urbanized areas. But this is the interesting statistic. So when you look at all that data and you add that up, from 2017 until 2023, when the data was collected in the 4 county area, there were over 43,000 incidents, which is hard to imagine. I mean, 43,000. The statistic that's even more alarming is over that time period, there was over 400 fatalities. I say again, 400 fatalities. So the question that we have is, what are we doing? We're trying to fix safety, and any road improvements that we can do that can decrease that number is going to be helpful. Because what really the question that we need to answer, and sales tax is a part of this, what question we really need to ask ourselves is, what is the acceptable number of lives lost each year on roads within Beaufort County? The acceptable number of lives. And hopefully for you, just as I think, that number is 0. Like, there is no life that is worth it to be lost due to incidents on our roads. Now, is it fair and accurate to think that if we make some improvements, there will be no accidents in Beaufort County? No, probably not. But it doesn't mean it's not the right and our most appropriate goal. Because again, each and every one of those lives lost in Beaufort County and in our 4 county region, they were somebody's daughter or somebody's son, maybe somebody's mother or somebody's father. And I guarantee you, That is one life lost too many. So our overall purpose is safety, safety, safety. So the other question is, how did we get here? So we're talking about roads today, and if you've ridden the roads in Beaufort County, you most likely can see the traffic that we're talking about. But it hasn't always been like this. How did we get here? Well, what's being proposed in 2024 transportation sales tax, this would be not just the first transportation sales tax in Beaufort County, or not the first, it would actually be the fourth transportation sales tax. So the first one was in 1998. So transportation sales tax and there are 7 sales taxes approved by General Assembly that are authorized for counties to use as local tools and resources for them to implement projects. And most recently, the last one that was authorized is green space, which we're currently um, collecting for and distributing funds for projects associated with the green space program. That was most recently authorized, and Beaufort County was the first one that jumped on that and used that tool as something to conserve properties in and around the area. But so the same was transportation sales tax. So transportation sales tax was established in 1995. And Beaufort County, just like we were with green space, was the very first county in the entire state to try out that tool. So in 1998, we passed a 2-year, $40 million transportation sales tax program. And I'll talk about the projects that were included in that program and these other programs in just a second. Then later in 2006, we had a 6-year, $152 million program, which had a lot of different roads involved in that program, and I'll talk about. And then most recently, that most people are probably familiar with, was in 2018, we had a 4-year, $120 million project program. So in 1998, that 2 years and $40 million, it helped fund SC 170. So it funded 13 miles of widening and 2 bridges. So both the Broad River Bridge and its expanded format and the Kalawasi Bridge, and basically widening from right there on the north side of the Broad River Bridge at Old Savannah Highway all the way down to 462. So imagine traveling down SC 170 today with all the traffic that we have on a 2-lane road. And this project did not come to life without the local funding. So we participated in a larger project. It was overall $140 million. The county's local responsibility was $40 million, which we funded through sales tax. And without that $40 million, that widening project would not exist today as it does. So again, people just like each and every one of you had the opportunity to decide whether that was important or not, and we have them to thank for the road improvements on SC 170. Later in 2006 was the 6-year, $152 million referendum. It had a lot of different projects on that, one of them being right here. This is US 17 and US 21 to the right of your screen. To the north of your screen is Colleton County, and to the south goes to I-95 on US 17. And at this time, this was 6 miles of widening from this point up to the Colleton County River, or Colleton County line. And at this point in time, this section of road was not just the worst road in the county, but it was the least safe road, not just in the state, but in the entire nation. And the reason was we had an incident not too long beforehand with a bunch of Navy men that were coming down to Parris Island, and a bus accident, and a lot of lives were killed in that incident, unfortunately. But because of that, this section of road was deemed the most dangerous section of road in the entire country. And so we participated in this widening project with DOT and other grant funding. Down south from 2006 again, sales tax, there was 5 miles of US 278 improved. To the right of the screen, this is the Okeechobee River, so it goes to 170, and to the left of the screen goes to Hilton Head. So this was 5 miles of widening from 4 lanes to 6 lanes from SC 170 to Simmonsville Road. And so that completed 6 lanes all the way from Moss Creek back to 170, 10 miles altogether. But this was 5 miles that was funded out of sales tax. The next project back north was 2 miles of widening on Old Savannah Highway, SC 280. So from 170 up to Parris Island Gateway. This right here at the bottom of the screen is in the middle, that is the Parker's gas station. So 2 miles of widening from 2 lanes to 4 or 5 lanes through this section. Also, continuing further in the north was the expansion of the Ladies Island Bridge, the McTier Bridge. So you can see on the left, that whole bridge was added as part of the sales tax. Maybe not the best slide to add. You can see an accident right there. Hindsight, maybe that is the right slide to add, because without that, the existing 2-lane bridge would be stuck. So you can see flow on the right while we're facilitating flow on the left during the accident. But nonetheless, this 2-lane dual bridge, twin bridge was added via sales tax funding. And then continuing off the bridge was additional 2 miles of widening from 2 lanes to 4 lanes on Ladies Island Drive. You can see the base of the bridge there to the left. And to the north is US 21 Sea Island Parkway. So 2 miles of widening up to where Publix is today at Ladies Island. Back down south, there was 4 miles of widening on SC 170. So this is from a pedestrian pathway. This is from US 278 down to SC 46 traffic circle. So again, that was 2 lanes prior to this. And then also down in Bluffton was the completion of the Bluffton Parkway flyover. So this tied in at Burnt Church, and you can see tying in there to the right before you get to the causeway on the bridges that go to Hilton Head. So this was funded through sales tax and had state, or I believe federal funding grant that matched the state and local funding. And then the last project from 2006 was Boundary Street project. So this was about 1.5 miles of streetscape and safety improvements. So this went from SC 170. You can see where it was realigned. You can see the old alignment and how we've turned it into a perpendicular approach, all the way down to Rebo Road. It also had a parallel road that goes behind Chick-fil-A and Walgreens down to Hogarth Avenue. So interesting on Boundary Street. So this was the last project in the 2006 program. So remember, I said 6 years, and it collected for $152 million over 6 years. This project started. So when this project started, it didn't start until 2015. So 3 years after the final penny had been collected is when this project started, and it wasn't completed until 2019. So if you think about that, 2006 to 2019, so it took 13 years for us to be able to deliver all the projects. Does that mean that program, 2006 program, was unsuccessful? No, I don't think so. I mean, look at all the projects we just went through. Without that, most every road that you drive on in Beaufort County that's 4 lanes or more had sales tax funding in it. So the fact that this project wasn't delivered until 2019 doesn't mean that the project itself or the program itself was unsuccessful. But what it means, and what I hope you take away from it, is that the implementation time is not the same as the collection time. And for Beaufort County, we're in a unfortunate disposition, meaning that our funding, because of tourists, comes in super fast. So the projects, any major infrastructure project takes a long time to develop between right-of-way and acquisition and permitting and construction. It just takes a long time to develop. That's part of major infrastructure. And our funding comes in super fast relative to some other surrounding counties. So we're in the position that the funding is here before the projects are implemented, but it doesn't mean that the projects themselves are unsuccessful or the program isn't either. So lastly, 2018. So this is, there was 3 projects included in 2018. So this is US 278. It's 4.5 miles from Moss Creek on the Bluffton side, land side, to Spanish Wells Road on the Hilton Head side, which will include a new 6-lane span bridge and then improvements all the way down to Spanish Wells. So this project is currently under design and going and finishing up the environmental review. So yes, we knew that this project, when we said this was part of the sales tax, it would not be completed in the 4 years. So again, this project has been going on for several years now, since 2017, but we're moving through. It's making progress, and the funds that were committed to this will retain with this project and move the project forward. Up north, there was 9 projects on Ladies Island, or there was 1 project listed as Ladies Island corridor projects, which included 9 mini projects internal to that. So the 2 major projects was US 21 corridor and the SC 802 corridor, and then several access roads that adjoin that parcel. These are under design and development. A lot of them are in the right-of-way acquisition phase. And then lastly, there was 24 pathway projects throughout the county as part of 2018 sales tax. So these projects, a couple of them have been designed and constructed already. Most of them are in design. Some of them are finishing up the permit, about to go to construction. A lot of them are in the utility and right-of-way acquisition phase. And if you think about it, everybody loves a pathway. We have a lot of great pathways here in Beaufort County, getting out and riding their bikes or walking, running on these. But not everybody likes it in front of their house. So that makes it challenging when we're trying to acquire some property, maybe it's 10 or 15 feet outside the right of way, to put this pathway on. And then each pathway may have anywhere from 10 to 30 different parcels on it, depending on how long the pathway is. So then we have to meet individually with each and every landowner and negotiate a fee and appraisal process and the entire right-of-way process with each and every parcel owner along that corridor. So if you think about that, just say we have 20 parcels per project, and there's 24 pathways. That's over 400 parcels that we're having to acquire, obtain some type of right easement or construction easement or right-of-way to facilitate. So we're working through these, and these will be delivered as part of the 2018 sales tax. So moving on more specifically to 2024 sales tax, how are the projects included in the sales tax selected? And so this process didn't just start. Council's been working at this for some time. And then, in fact, they started working on this as far back as 2022. They appointed at that time a 17-member citizen sales tax advisory committee. We called it STAC 1. And that committee was one citizen from each council district and one citizen from each municipality, including Hardyville and Yamasee. That's how we got to 17. And so they spent hours and hours meeting each week from January 2022 to May of 2022, and provided a recommendation to council and said, okay, council, this is what we think you should consider for a transportation sales tax. About the same time, as I referenced already, Senator Tom Davis had just authorized, or with the General Assembly's authorization, the green space sales tax. So county council had a decision to make: green space or transportation. They chose at the time to move forward with green space, but said, you know what, we're going to come back, no for now, but not forever. We're going to come back to transportation. We know our roads are important to our community, and that there's a level of investment that is required to keep the roads in satisfactory condition. So they said no for now, and then said as soon as green space passed and 2023 came around, they said, you know what, we need to think about this some more, and we need to get a head start on this. So in July of 2023, they organized and appointed another citizen sales tax advisory committee, so STAC 2.0. And this one was a little bit different. This was a 6-member committee, and council petitioned this committee that they evaluate that what level of investment do we need in our community? Do we need investment on our roads, or on our facilities, or in our schools? So contemplate those 3 criteria and then tell us what you think the recommendation was. About the same time, the school district was going for their bond referendum in 2023, and that successfully passed. So the advisory committee said, well, we know our roads need some attention, and we feel like the school district is getting the funding for the school facilities. And although we may have some aging facilities, or we need some more recreation facilities, or whatever that need is, we really feel like it's more important to focus on one. And county council, we think that is roads. So all in all, the 2 committees spent over 450 volunteer hours investing into what they provided as a recommendation. So again, the sales tax 2 used the work product that sales tax 1 came up with, and then they updated that with the 2023 recommendation to council in December of 2023. So after December, they sent that to county council, and county council decided this is good. They were moving forward the process for approval and decided to hit the pause button and said, let's take this throughout the community and get some additional feedback and input. So they hosted 5 informational sessions throughout the community for the public to weigh in and provide feedback. At the time, what was being proposed was not a 10-year, but a 15-year sales tax that would raise $1.625 billion. So they went through the process, met with different citizens, and the voices that were heard were different in each region, as you can imagine. What was important to Hilton Head was vastly different than St. Helena or Bluffton to City of Beaufort and Port Royal. So anyhow, they took the information back and they referred that back to the Public Facilities and Safety Committee. And there they took the information that was heard and tried to modify the existing plan best as possible with the feedback that was received. And they sent back a revised recommendation to County Council in the May-June timeframe they reduced it at that point from a 15-year to a 10-year plan for $950 million. So County Council passed that ordinance in June, and they sent that to the Voters Commission for it to be placed on the ballot in November. So what exactly is included in the $950 million? So there's various different projects, and I'll speak to each one of these to give a little bit of detail, and then I can direct you to our county website, BeaufortCountyPenny.com, where this information is hosted as well as other information, and you'll find further details beyond what I discuss here. So the first 3 projects on the left there, these are major infrastructure projects throughout the area that are priorities both to the county but also to the region. And so the first one being the Triangle Project. So this is a collection of 3 roads. If you've driven down south, you'll completely understand this as I explain this. But on SC 170 from 462 to 278, and then on 278, we're already improved and widened up to 278, 170, but this would be from 170 back westbound towards the interstate to Argent Boulevard, and then lastly from Argent Boulevard back to SC 170. So when you take those 3 roads together, they look like a triangle on the map, so hence the name, the Triangle Project. So this would be providing $120 million towards that project. That project would also be a joint project with Jasper County. We share the county line on SC 170, and they too are looking at a sales tax program that they would put forth funding to help fund this project. Up north is Repo Road improvements for $75 million. So the county, town, and city have all been working on a plan of what Repo Road is to look like in the future. And although we don't have that finalized, what that plan will look like, we do know whatever that plan develops, there will be a need for resources to implement that plan. So what we're looking for is access management and safety, and specifically addressing Ladies Island Drive and Reba Road, that intersection. Everybody that drives through there understands the need there. And then also aesthetics and enhancements. So undergrounding the power for resiliency and street lighting and landscaping. SC 46, so this is back down south. This is improvements from the traffic circle at 170 to the Jasper County line. $50 million associated with that project. This too could be a potential project that we share with Jasper County, as on their sales tax program have continuation of improvements on their side of the river there in Jasper County. The next group of projects is the completion of the underfunded projects from Transportation Sales Tax 3, and that's $90 million to 278, $60 million to the Lady Island projects, and $30 million to complete the remainder of the pathway projects. So we get asked a lot about this. Are we double dipping? Are we double taxing for this? And the answer is no. So all the funds that were collected in 2018 are still appropriated and still going towards those projects. The difference is what's happened since 2018 to now that we've all experienced and has drastically impacted the cost of projects and the cost of just life in general is COVID. So National Highway or the Federal Highway Administration, they keep up with an index. That's the National Highway Cost of Construction. And in that, since October 2020, it has shown a constant increase in construction costs, far outweighing the cost of other forms of inflation, the CPI, the EPI, and others, to the tune of 69%. So since 2020, the cost of doing a project has grown by 70% roughly. And we see that on the projects that we're delivering, that were approved and proposed in 2018. So this makes those projects whole in today's dollars so that we can complete and finish those projects. The next one is green belts. So there's an allowance inside the transportation sales tax for green belts. So this is conservation and preservation. So it's similar to green space with a few different caveats, but there's an allowance for the continuation of conservation inside of the statute for transportation. So $50 million towards that. Mass transit for $80 million. So this is enhancing our mass transit system, anything public transit related inside Beaufort County. So currently we do have a bus system, Palmetto Breeze. So this would help fund their operations as well as their capital projects and any other forms of mass transit, which include in Beaufort County, aviation and ferry. So our ferry back and forth to Defusky, as well as possible looking at future enhancements to that system beyond just Defusky Island. To the top and right of the screen are municipal projects. So the projects to the top left are regional projects that the county would be approaching, that anybody who drives in the area would feel the impact of those projects. These projects are specific to the needs of the towns and the municipalities. So it may be important to them, but not on the same level of importance to the county, as we're looking out for the entire system versus the smaller parts, the collector roads and minor streets. So inside Hilton Head, there's $30 million, which includes improvements to the Sea Pine Circle. We don't know yet exactly what those improvements are, just that that will be a project that's identified and funded, or at least partially funded, through this $30 million appropriation. The town of Bluffton is $30 million. One thing that council heard and included in there is this is not to include 5B, Bluffton 5B. So that is a caveat to that $30 million. Port Royal, Beaufort, and Northern Beaufort County unincorporated area. So funding each of those areas of $10 million, again, for their needs and their concerns. And then this last group of projects beyond that, these are program projects as we refer to them. So these are projects that there aren't identified the same as the Triangle Project or Revo Road, but over the 10 years, we know that we will have intersections that need improvement, or signals to be installed, or turn lanes to be enhanced. And each and every year we'll have a call for projects, and this allows us to be flexible and address those projects that we may not know today. We know they will be out there, we just don't know specifically which intersection will be unsafe that will need funding for later. The same for dirt road paving. So we have a county dirt road paving program to pave county owned dirt roads. So this would go to $80 million to fast track that program, as well as resurfacing and preservation. So the goal here is to raise the level of roads throughout the county, whether they're DOT owned or county owned or municipal owned paved roads. As if you're driving around, you don't care who owns the road, you just don't want to hit the potholes. And we don't know exactly where the pothole will be. We just know there will be potholes within the next 10 years. So this money is for that use, and each year it will get programmed. Pathway projects, so $20 million for this. Resiliency, emergency evacuation projects. So we have a lot of roads that are in low-lying areas that flood habitually. And so this is to take a look at those areas to help increase those if there's one-way access in and out of a particular area that is affected by a storm or storm surge. Those are type of projects. And also our emergency evacuation routes, our big routes, our SC 46, 278, 170, 21, 462. If there's improvements that can be made, that would what this funding is for. So with that, that's really what's on the table for the election here coming up. Like I said, you'll see that $950 million. That question won't have all this information. So if you want to know before you go and vote what will be included in this, this is exactly the details of that. And as mentioned, this is shared on the website here. So this information will be there for you to find out more. Lastly, one last thing that county council thought was appropriate, that if this does get passed, how are we going to monitor that? One thing that county council heard in their information sessions was transparency. And so similar to the school district, county council said that if approved, they're going to stand up a citizen-led oversight committee. This will be similar to the school district. So the school district has had one on their first bond, and then here recently on their second bond referendum from last year, a citizen-led oversight committee. So similar to them, again, 7 citizens. We'll have 4 from the municipalities and then 3 from the unincorporated areas. And then their job, just like the school district, will be to oversee the projects of the referendum and the schedule and the expenditures, and be able to report that out to all the citizens to make sure that this program is being managed and maintained and implemented in a responsible manner. So again, that's the information. This is where you can go and find more information. You can use the QR code or just go directly down to BeaufortCountyPenny.com. You'll find information about this sales tax, what's planned, what's the vote will look like in any other FAQs, as well as information about the previous 3 sales taxes as described in the presentation. So again, thank you for seeking out more information, and we look forward to seeing you and participating in your civic duty on November 5th. Thanks a lot.